I played a human noble. I was a female, and to me, the human noble storyline is just freaking awesome. It's awesome. Now, as awesome as the other origins are, because they do have their really cool parts to them, I've played a lot of them. I haven't beat the game with all of them, but I have played through a lot of them. And my favorite is by far the human noble. I just think it's a lot more intense. It's a lot more emotional, because of what happens and because of who you go against and stuff like that. And I mean, you could become a queen or a king in the end, so it's freaking awesome. But there's this mission. Um, I believe it was, I don't remember the name of the mission, but you had to go look for Andraste's ashes because the Arl of Redcliffe, I think his name was Eamon, Arl Eamon, was sick. So you have to find these ashes from Andraste because it's supposedly supposed to make him feel better, or you know, make him feel better. So you go and you have to go into this like temple or something. I don't remember what it was called, but you go into this and there's this like spirit guardian. And he's like guarding the place, and he talks to you. He talks to everybody in your party, and he like brings up specific moments in your life and in their lives that really hurt them, or that was really significant to them. Like for example, with Alistair, it was about Duncan, and then for me, it was about my parents' deaths. And if you play through the human noble origin, your parents die in the beginning, and you pretty much have to leave your parents. Your dad's like on the ground and he's like bleeding and he's dying. He says you have to go, and you go. You leave your mother there with him, so they end up dying. You have an option. You have a bunch of options to answer as to how you feel about that. And I said that I felt you had that option to say that you feel guilty, that you're like, I should have gone back. He goes into that, and he's kind of like taking these feelings out of you, and you're just like, reliving it almost, and you're just, it makes it so much more fresh and so much more real, where it's just like I started feeling really bad, where I was like, it was my fault. And you go in, he lets you in, and in this room, you're gonna experience something, and it's different for everybody. It's different for every origin that you play. But in the human noble origin, you see your father's spirit like appears in front of you, and he's talking to you, and he's saying, "Don't blame yourself. It's not your fault. I love you." And he would always call you pup, and he calls you pup, and it's just like, I was crying. I was like, oh my god, this is so sad. It was so good though. It was so good. That was one of my favorite moments in Dragon Age Origins. It makes everything so real with what happened to you in your origin, in your particular origin. It really like delves into your feelings, and it's like, what do you think about this? What happened to you? How do you feel about it? And you have to move on, kind of thing, like let it go and move on. So I thought that was so good, but it was so sad for me. I was crying. I was like, oh my god, it's so sad. This game had so many great things about it, and one of my favorite things about it was how the story was being told, how real it felt. And not only with the story, but also with the characters and the emotions, and how the connections were built, especially with John Marston and his family, like Abigail, his wife, and his son, Jack. Towards the end, there's a moment when these guys are coming on their horses and they're approaching John Marston's farm, and he knows exactly what's going to happen. He's like, oh my god, they're coming for me. They're going to kill me. And he stops Jack, his son, and he's like, go inside the house, lock yourself, and don't come out. And he's about to go, Jack's about to go, and John stops him and he hugs him, and he tells him, promise me, don't come out. And I'm just like, oh my god, it's just building and building. And the guys come, you take a few out, you go, you get your wife and your son, you take him to the barn, you put him on a horse, and you're pretty much saying goodbye And your wife is like, stay out of trouble, John. And John's like, ain't no trouble, Abigail. Ain't no trouble. They leave, and John Marston turns around and he's like, this is it. This is it. So he goes, opens the barn door, and there's a bunch of dudes standing there pointing their gun at him. And you're just like, you're like, piece of cake. I'm a Deadeye. You know, go into Deadeye mode where everything goes in slow motion. You put like all these X's on people and you could like target them for a specific amount of time. And I'm like, I'm gonna Deadeye these guys. I'm gonna bust them all. And goes into Deadeye. You put a few marks on a bunch of them. But you could pretty much only take out, I only took out like 5 of them. Because there's so many, and you take out maybe 5, and they start shooting you. They start putting holes into John, all of them. And John's just like freaking Swiss cheese, just standing there, so many holes. And I'm like, really? Did you really have to do that? Like, did you have to put that many holes in him? Could you just shoot him like in the freaking head? No, they had to shoot him like 100,000 times. And he's like blood everywhere. And all you could hear is him like breathe, like trying to breathe and like gagging. Like kind of like, and he's just standing there and he falls and he dies. And it's just like, and the dudes just walk off like nothing. I was like, no, he's okay, right? His wife and his kid come back, and his wife is just like on the ground crying, holding him. He's dead, and he's like lying in a puddle of blood. And it's just like, that was a shock. I was like, no freaking way. He's dead? And then the freaking song starts playing. This song that plays right after that when it goes to the grave, the tombstone, John Marston's tombstone. And Abigail and Jack are standing there, and Jack's like holding Abigail, and she's crying, and it's raining, and it's like zooming out. I was like, and then the freaking song's playing, and I'm like crying because of the song. The song just makes it so much more emotional. It's just like, oh my god. Just leading up to that moment was just so sad, because you got to live, you got to play through these scenes where it was just you spending time with your family, like doing these little missions, like taking your kid out to go hunting. It was you connecting with them again, and then all of a sudden he dies, and it's like, oh no. So they really set that up really good for it to be an extremely emotional scene at the end, because they really made you like connect with them, and then boom. Oh man, that was good, but so sad. And finally, my last one, the one that no other video game has topped as of yet. Or those of you that have been watching me for a while, I think I've mentioned this once before. In the end of Dragon Age Origins, one of the Grey Wardens, either you or Alistair, has to kill the archdemon, the dragon. And whoever kills the dragon dies. So you have the option to do the ritual with Morrigan, and if you do the ritual, Alistair or you won't die. None of you have to die. So, but the ritual is having to sleep with Morrigan and giving her a baby, pretty much. So in my case, since I was a female, I romanced Alistair. And she's like, so yeah, like, you know, if we do the ritual, like, I'm gonna have to sleep with Alistair, and, you know, he's gotta get me pregnant, and don't worry, he won't die. I was like, what? And I was like, oh, hell no. I got in a fight with Morrigan. I was so pissed. And this is what I was thinking. I was like, no, I'm gonna sacrifice myself. I'm not gonna let Alistair sacrifice himself. So I was like, so that's out of the question. So I was like, get out of my face. So she's like, you know, saying all these things, and I'm like saying all these things, and I'm like, fine. She's like, I'm leaving then. I'm like, fine. And she leaves, like, for good. She wasn't in my end battle or anything. She just left like a coward. I hated Morrigan towards the end, but it was so real because I loved it. I wouldn't change that for anything. I didn't care if Morrigan wasn't there in my end battle. I was like, it felt so real. Not every relationship ends good. So this ended bad. And it was like, and I wasn't like, damn it, I lost Morgan. No, I was like, good, I'm glad she's gone. So it was just really, really personal. So I was like, okay, Alistair's not going anywhere. Alistair's not dying. I'm gonna die, and that's it. Alistair's gonna become king, and he's gonna, he's gonna go on and live his life. So that's what I was thinking. Stupid me, when you choose to take your party to the archdemon to fight the dragon, the very last time you have a choice to change your party, I take Alistair. I take Alistair and I take my usual party, Win, Alistair, and Shale, I think. So we go. And when it's time to go kill the archdemon, I'm like, alright, I'm gonna do it. And Alistair stops you. He stops you and he's like, I'm gonna do it. And you're just like, no, I'm gonna do it. And you can try to talk him out of it. But the only way to stop Alistair from going after the archdemon is to not take him in your party. Otherwise, if he's in a romance with you, he will sacrifice himself every time. He will not let you sacrifice yourself. And I don't know why I never thought that. I don't know why it never crossed my mind that Alistair would not let me sacrifice myself. And I was like, no. I was so mad. I was like, no, oh my god. I was like, no. I was like, I planned this. He kisses you for the last time. He tells you he loves you, and he just goes after that and kills the dragon. He ends up dying, and you're just like, I was so mad at myself. I was like, how could I have done that? Like, I made that stupid mistake. So you go and you're done with the dragon, and the dragon was a hard battle. It was hard, and at least it was for me. I was like, I'm reloading. Screw this. I'm gonna reload, and and I'm gonna do it all over. And I was like, oh well, I'm gonna have to fight the dragon. But the I didn't reload just yet. I was like, I'll do it afterwards. So everything happens through after that. The whole cinematic after the death of the dragon and all that, I was like in shock. I was like, everything that was happening, I was just like, and you're back in the castle, and Honora's there, and everybody's there, all of your party members, and they're all like, kind of celebrating and everything, and I was just like, and I remember that I talked to Liliana, and Liliana tells you something like, so what are you gonna do now? And I was so demoralized. I was so like I was so much in shock and so sad that I was like, I'm just gonna go off. You had the option to just leave and leave everybody behind and give up the Grey Wardens and everything. Just leave. And that's what I said. I was like, I'm out of here. I'm done. I don't even care anymore. And I think she said something like, can I join you or something like that. And I was just like, no. I didn't want anybody with me. I was like, no, I'm going by myself. And I go up and talk to Nora, but this is all like really mechanical. Like it's just all happening. And I'm just like, I was kind of mad. Before the credits, it shows like moments where it starts saying what every character went off to do. Like where it just like says, Ogren did this, blah, 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 and Liliana did Zevran. And you're just reading it. So I'm reading these and I'm like, I'm gonna reload, like right after this. As soon as the credits hit, the credits start, and the song I Am the One starts playing by Inon Zur. I mean, Inon Zur did the whole soundtrack of Dragon Age, but this song, if you haven't heard this song, I'll put it in the description. I'll put a link to it. It's an awesome song, and it absolutely touched my heart. Like, in that moment, it just... The moment that song starts, I break down. I broke down. I start crying like never before playing a video game. Crying, like sobbing. Oh my god, I was so surprised. I was like, what the hell? I was like, and that has never happened to me in a video game. I've got teary-eyed. I've got tears running down my face, and I'm just like, you know, I've got that, yeah. But sobbing, never. And I was like, I'm not gonna reload. That just made it perfect. As heartbreaking as that was, I was like, it got this reaction out of me. I'm not gonna change that. I was like, that's it. Alistair's gone, and that's what happened. And I left like that, and part of me was like really, really sad, but part of me was like, that was perfect. And I've actually talked to face with Inonzor, the composer, and I told him this. I actually have it on camera. I have it in a video that I put up a long time ago. I'll put that in the description as well. Where I'm telling Inonzor this of what happened to me in Dragon Age, and he was like flattered. He was like, wow. He was like, every composer wants to hear that. He was like, thank you. And I was like, dude, thank you. So any game that ever tops that, it's gonna be pretty good, but nothing has topped it yet. So that's it. Those were my most emotional moments in video games. Like I said, I'm probably missing a bunch of them. I'm not thinking of a bunch. Like I said in the beginning, put them in the comments and, you know, just share them with me. I may have had a similar experience as well. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you found that interesting, and I will talk to you guys later.